And that's the one thing I think that sets us apart. Our values are everything. We hire on them, we fire on them, we decide on them, and we undecide. We've made some bonehead decisions, and you just have to just say, okay, time to pivot.
All right, welcome back to Unfollow the Herd podcast, where we talk about real estate, business, entrepreneurship, and today we're going to be talking about building your legacy. Not necessarily just building a legacy for your future, but I want to show you through networking, through leadership, and through business. I think that you can build a network, and I think it's not what you know, it's who you know, and it's always going to be that way. I got one of the most charismatic guys that I know. He's from Fargo, North Dakota. He owns a plumbing and heating company called Legacy, of course. JT Froning, thank you, buddy, for coming on here, and I'm excited to have you.
I'm so pumped to be here, man. It was a long, short drive up, and love coming back up into the Grand Forks market, to be able to hang with you and chat for a little while, man. I'm stoked. So.
Yeah, man. I don't know where we first met, but like you have this skill, muscle to light up a room, or like we're best friends. I feel like you're the friend that I never had, that, we just met and we're best friends. So you have this like crazy skill of like connecting with people really quickly. And I want to talk about that today, because I think that's one of the skills that you grew a plumbing and heating company, which I love. I'm going to call it a boring business, but I think it's a boring business that everybody needs.
Yes.
And there's not enough people doing it. Not enough people going into that style of company. So I want to talk about multiple things today. But who are you? Where'd you come from? Where'd you grow up?
So I'm JT, born and raised in Fargo, North Dakota, to a couple of great parents. I stayed with the plan to leave. I was the last one there, the last of the Mohicans. My family left and I stayed, and I think that's God's plan, right? It's not all about our plans. It's whose plan is it, and it's ultimately His. And so I stayed, and I was a very social kid, as you could probably imagine. So I did a lot of things to practice my social flex. And so early in my years, I was hanging around the older crowd. And where do you gain your social skills? Probably at the parties. Yeah. So did a lot of that, and which got me into a little bit of trouble, which means I need to go to work. So at 14 years old, I started working, and it was all customer facing roles. So that's where I really think I was able to gain all these skills and abilities to do what I do, because I've just been doing what I do for so long. And so I've been customer facing, and then graduated high school, and I was over at that local Shields spot, and I walked in, and I was talking to a guy that I knew from high school, and he's like, "What's your plan?" I was like, "Don't got one." And he's like, "Well, why don't you just pop over to Shields and start working here?" And I said, "Oh, that doesn't sound too crazy. Like, let's do it." And so I applied, and so I cut my teeth in shoe sales. I was Al Bundy, baby. My dad still calls me Bundy. He's like, "What's up, Bundy?" And but as a young man, 18 years old, with no real plan, part of my plan was like, I knew I wasn't going to a 4-year institution. The sales guy in me couldn't sell myself on that idea outside of one reason I would have gone, and that would have been to get into that fraternal organization, that brotherhood. Yep. I think that's such a long-standing gain. But regardless, went over to Shields, started selling shoes, and Shields poured into me. In between me wanting to go to the party and do everything else, Shields said, "Hey, just slow down a minute. We're going to take care of you. We're going to invest in you. We're going to teach you how to set goals. We're going to teach you how to attain those goals." And so I'm forever indebted to that organization. I like to say I have a 2-year degree in sales and marketing, but I have a master's in customer service from Shields, man. Yeah. And that organization, I was talking to one of their marketing folks last week, and I said, we're walking in the shadows of greatness. Mm-hmm. We can all learn so much from Shields. Yep. I'm starting to pivot all my coffee meetings over to Shields, because you're just in this innovative incubator, man. You're in that space, and it just instills great conversation. So, and if anyone's in business or doing whatever, man, and you're in the Fargo market, Grand Forks market, or a lot of other markets at this point with Shields, just take a look, watch. It's okay to just kind of see what they're up to in a retail landscape that everything was folding. They did nothing but excel. So that's a little bit of my journey.
I like that. My mentor, Ryan Pineda, I always talk about, him when he's learning golf. He's like, I want Tiger Woods' coach, or the best, right?
The best of the best.
Like, I think I was thinking about in Grand Forks, and Fargo may be different, but like, think about the 2 best service companies in our whole market. And it's like, that's like a retail or maybe fast food. It's like Chick-fil-A and Shields.
Boom.
Like
Yeah,
they somehow,
1, 2, yes.
How do they have it? It's like, it seems simple. Like, why can't everyone else do that?
Yes.
But they don't.
Yes.
I don't know. What did they engrave? What did they teach you? What does Shields preach? Because I do think they do a phenomenal job in retail.
Yep.
That's unlike most experiences. Even if I go to a Dick's Sporting Goods somewhere else, it's
So
not
much
at that
colder.
level.
Yeah.
So what did they teach you?
Yeah.
What did they
Great
ingrain,
question.
man?
Yeah, and then I love that parallel between ChickfilA and Shields because they did it on similar principles.
Okay.
ChickfilA would be the first to tell you it's a chicken business built on pleases and thank yous, and so it really starts with when you walk in, let's greet the customer. There's a process. Shields has 5 steps to that customer journey.
Okay.
Legacy happens to have 6, and so it's all about greeting that customer, genuinely greeting that customer. Hey, is there anything I can help you with? Asking the right questions. Hey, what are you looking for today? You know, most people are going to say, hey, I'm just looking. I get it. You're just looking. I understand. But what are you really doing here? And so just really being an expert. It was nonstop. Every Tuesday, rain, shine, snow. If you didn't work, you're there, 9 p.m. It's time to learn. And so it's that repetitive training, which a lot of the times like, man, do I really have to? But you leave there 1 ounce better. 1 ounce, 1 ounce, 1 ounce. And then that starts to compound, and all of a sudden you're just an expert. You're a specialist, and now you're doing your thing, and you're delivering that journey. And that whole goal setting thing, and I know Chick-fil-A does this as well. They're going to say something like this to little young JT. All right, JT, you want to be president one day. I get it. Go get it.
Yep.
Or you want to be an astronaut. Go to the moon. Let's go. But while you're here, be here. If you give me everything you got, I'll give you everything I got. And then together we'll see some gains. And then when you're ready to go to the moon, I'm gonna shake your hand, give you a high five, and wish you nothing but the best.
Yep.
But be here. And we've told that to our young guys too. We got some young dudes on staff. And I don't want them to take it for granted because we're so focused on culture and we're so focused on mission and values. That is abnormal to like all business. And I don't want these guys to get duped into thinking that's normal. And then, you know, the grass is always greener. They do decide to leave and they're like, whoa. This isn't norm. Legacy was doing it this way and this way and this way. And that's what we're really trying to push, man. Like, we need less managers in the world and we need more leaders.
Yeah.
Like, managers are selfish individuals. What are you going to do for me today? Rather, a leader's like, hey, what can I do for you, Marc, man?
Yeah.
What can I do for you to help you? Because then in turn, naturally, you're going to help me. You're going to help our customers.
Yep.
You're going to deliver on that mission. And those values, man, they can't just be in a handbook. Like, you can't come up with your handbook and then give it to a new employee and be like, okay, I might quiz you. You got to believe it. And that's the one thing I think that sets us apart. Our values are everything. We hire on them, we fire on them, we decide on them, and we undecide. We've made some bonehead decisions, and you just have to just say, okay, time to pivot. Unlike I spent a lot of time in big corporate America, and you know, guys would make those decisions, and they'd take it to their grave because of pride or because they just, again, they're a big ship. And so if you turn 3 knots on a big ship, it's hard to turn back. And, so I
want to break that down a little bit because I think that you're I think being a leader instead of a manager is like service oriented. And I'm going to come back just because I was just in Arizona and the competition's fierce down there. And I think in the times that we're in, I mean, it doesn't feel like a recession, I wouldn't call it, but it feels like, you know, there's a squeeze happening.
Yep.
Everyone's focused on service, and that's where the Shields, even in the bad times, they do okay.
Yes.
Why? Because their service is the best.
Yes.
Why does Chick-fil-A probably will fly right through a recession? Because their service is really good. And when I was down in Arizona, I mean, there was guys like at self-serve car washes, there's a guy by the thing like, hey, how's your day going? Like, whatever, like they're just going above and beyond in every little fashion. I was at a CrossFit gym. The guy, coach, talks to me at the end, talks to me at the beginning, and then texts me after like, hey, is there anything that you think we could do better? Whatever. You know what I mean? Like I can tell everyone's just trying to perfect because the competition is so fierce out there that if you want to stay on top, your service is going to have to expand through above and beyond what everyone else is doing. If you want to do the bare minimum, you won't survive.
No.
Yeah. In times like this, the good go out of business and the great stay okay.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that's what happens.
That's so refreshing too to hear that that's happening, because if that's what it's going to take, like fierce competition to get people to like level up and understand that it's more that we have to lead with experience and get away from price. That excites me. That would be the pandemic that I'd want to focus on is like, hey, let's start loving people and see what happens.
Yeah.
People spend a lot of time at work. And so let's make it the best time we can make it. Yeah, we're going to work hard. Like it's not, plumbing and heating ain't easy. Concrete's not easy. Like you got to do your thing. You got to put on your bootstraps, go to work, do your thing, fight the war, fight the battle. But then, hey, we can have some fun too. And we can always say in those tough days, in those Mondays, like people like to call them, if you truly know, like you're the mission, and the mission is to deliver the best plumbing and heating experience, then we lead with experience. And then how do we lead with experience? Well, we honor our values and we trust the process. Yeah. You can have a process, but if nobody trusts it or buys into it, we've had over 1,100 5-star Google reviews in 6 years. Wow. Pretty cool. We look at those as customers' notes of confidence to the next customer. Yeah. And we like to think that if you deliver that 5-star experience, be bold enough to ask for a 5-star review. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to. But what I really like is I was reading one the other day, and it was a gal, and she said, you know what, I've used Legacy 3, 4, 5 times, and what I love the most is it was the same exact experience, which is validation to and it wasn't the same technician. It's validation that it was 3 different techs delivering the same experience, which we refer to as the Legacy way. And so we know that it's working. And customers are like, that's why when I call Legacy, I'm not calling cheap plumber, I'm calling the right plumber. Yeah. And so we're so proud of that. And we just love to see our guys flourish and like, strong alone, unstoppable together. That's what we do, man.
So is that through process, or is that through just your, like what you put your employees through?
Yeah.
Like
so,
this is our experience from the knock on the door or the call that we're coming.
The first phone call to the last thank you. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And so, we've been probably, it's not really as much the process. There's guys all over the country, and you probably have seen them. They're trying to like buy the next best shop. They're trying to acquire something and just expect it to perform. And I've told this to Brad and Rob. I said, yo guys, like one thing why we have a leg up on our competitors is they can't mess with our passion and purpose. Like no one's got the passion and the purpose that we got. So like if we lead with passion and we know what our purpose is, and that is the mission at hand, like good luck, because it's our root DNA. And so that's where we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. And our market is great, and we're blessed for that. It's so much fun. The journey is good.
Yeah, man. I want to talk about something else, because you mentioned managers and leaders. And I think that's very much in your values. Like, managers are going to dictate your schedules and make sure things are happening. Is your managers your leaders, or do you teach managers just to be leaders then? Or is those 2 different people in your business?
Nope. There's one person, right? So we take on leaders. We don't take on managers. We train leaders. And I think you have to, I'd like to see that word completely out of our business. Okay. Naturally, it phases in. Northern Cass is a beautiful school in North Dakota, Fargo, and they've kind of rewrote the education system. They're one of 7 schools in the country doing it different. They're meeting the child where they are, rather than telling them to fit the box, fit the mold. This is how you're going to learn, and this is how you're going to act. Like they're smashing the box, and I love them for that. But where I'm going with that is like we have to just even start using different verbiage. Like let's not even talk about a manager, because when you do that those connotations come in. That used car salesman mentality kind of creaks its ugly face. Yeah. And so we're just leading with leadership, like leadership. And this is who a leader is. And if you don't know, okay, cool, let's hit. I mean, the podcasts out there are endless. The education out there is endless. And we like to refer, I think you find some of the best leaders, and maybe it's just the most relatable leaders in sports. And so we operate our business very much around sport. And so how does the coach, amp up the Chiefs to go? How does Andy Reid amp up the team to go win the game? You know what I mean? Like, what's that pregame speech look like? And say you're down 14-21 going into half. What does that look like? Are you just going to lead by force, which like over time, you look at anyone who's tried to lead with force, that's a short-lived experiment. It's not a long-term play. Yeah. And so you got to rally your troops, man. You got to lead, and they got to want to follow you. Oh, wow. And we're not perfect. We're far from perfect, but we're going to keep every day just a little bit better, Do you, I'd be curious, back to your Shields days and what Legacy is now, do you guys train
every morning? Is it how do you keep that going?
Yep.
Is there someone got that curriculum that's rolling, and how do you deliver that to your employees?
How do you get it into your DNA? So I think, naturally in conversation, if we're talking about a certain topic or issue or thing, naturally the values will be there. Like we'll look to the values, right? Like we'll be like, hey, we're having this issue with this contractor. Let's just say that we're having an issue with the contractor. The human error is something's going to happen. We're not going to run from it. Conflict resolution's value of ours. We're going to face that up. A lot of guys like to run and hide, but we just got to own it and face it up. And so working those values through each conversation, like, okay, what happened? What step in the legacy way didn't happen if it was, our guy didn't do something. Okay, so let's narrow that down.
Yep.
Okay, let's lean into the team. Team is a core value. I'd really put that to the one spot. I've told people this, and I'll continue to tell people this. We put our team as the number one, which that means I'm telling the consumers they're actually in the number two spot. And that's okay though, because if I take care of the team, if we love the team then in turn is going to take care of the community. But it can't be reversed. Like I spent 10 years, the first three things we talked about was trading profit, shareholders, trading profit. And you're like, what about the customer? And that was not at Shields. That was a big old conglomerate. But, and so I think it just has to be in all that you do it. Like and then Monday mornings is our leadership. You could refer that as a version of level 10, right? So all the leaders are in a meeting. We're going to go over team member highlights, which is the best. Like in all things, let's celebrate the wins, the little wins, the medium wins, the big wins. That, like, if we're not going to do that, then what are we doing? And then there's so much that comes up about a team member, stepping up, sacrificing for one another. And then we go over department news, department highlights. What are we working on? Overarching things. And then tasks, then follow-ups from the previous. And so that's so fun. We award awards like the Top Banana Award, which is so fun. We're a performance-based company. Just like in athletics, performers perform. And so we know the metrics, we know the numbers, and we celebrate that. But there's some metrics that you can't really measure in an Excel spreadsheet, and that is, how do you show up? Because how you show up matters. And so we award guys that just bring that rock star attitude every day. Okay. When you and I roll out of bed, I don't think you and me are just like, woo, energy, let's go. I think this is a muscle you and I have flexed, and we understand that we're going to bring the energy because our energy goes before us. Before I walked into this studio, like my energy was there first. Yeah. And so how we show up matters. That attitude is like one of the easiest things you can control. Just like, okay, I get it. You got into it with your wife this morning, but like leave that there. Like, I want you to figure that out before you go to bed tonight. But when you come here, mission focused, we got to go. We got to bring that attitude because you're going to affect everyone's mood. And so we're really cognitive of that. And then we want to forever stay. We've had some good success. We've won some awards. That's all fine and dandy, but we got to forever stay humble. We got to forever stay hungry, and we always got to have that street smarts. We don't reward people for like who read all of Harry Potter the fastest. We reward people for that street smarts. Like, and I think you and I have done well in that arena as well. It's like that situational awareness, like reading a room, understanding what's going on, being able to turn it on and turn it off. So we reward that every month. We tee up the team. We've polled most of our people. Sit them down, and you have them rank things like benefits, vacation, compensation, bonus, and recognition. And most of the time, and I don't need to keep asking because once you have a data set, like that's pretty good. Yeah. But in the 1-2, and it's more in the 1 than it is the 2, guys are saying, I just want to be recognized. And that's what, again, back to managers and leaders. Managers aren't recognizing their people. They're taking the credit and they're going to their boss and being like, look what I did when you had nothing to do with it. Sure. And so our team loves to be recognized. And when you can build in, call it a goofy award. Top Banana Award? What? But when you can build that in, recognize your team amongst the team, and that's the second step to recognition. How do you want to be recognized? We got one guy in particular, Josh Seberg, love him. He's the most loyal guy we got. He's won the Legacy Award 4 times. He's our Tom Brady. But if I told Josh to stand up in front of the classroom and said, let's give Josh a round of applause because he is the man, that actually is like how he doesn't want to be recognized. He wants to go, mano a mano, let's go to lunch, let's sit down. Josh, man, I'm so proud of you, dude. Like you bring it every day. And so how does your team want to be recognized? But please, 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 every leader in the country, start to recognize your team. Man, they're going to war for you. Then recognize them for their efforts, please.
So this is your Monday. What do you call it? The Monday.
Sure, Monday motivation, Monday leadership meeting, man.
Got it.
I don't know.
I like
yeah,
it.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I think what you summarized. I mean, you're basically building that culture every Monday.
Yep.
I mean, that's where it starts. And in business, I think I get asked the question all the time. It's like, well, how do I build my business from this to this? How do I get everyone on the same page? It's like, I don't know, build a culture that everyone is in the know. Everyone understands the path forward. Everyone's like trying to win.
Yes.
Let's talk about our wins. If no one has any wins, then we're not winning together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think culture is the biggest driver to any business today. I mean, I
agree. Culture eats strategy.
You can go get
lunch.
a job anywhere.
Yes.
Any freaking where. And if you don't like it here, maybe it's the culture, you know what I mean? And I think that's why we have a low turnover. I think it's probably why you have a low turnover. Your culture will drive out the bad ones.
Yes.
It just will. You're going to have performers next to people who are like, I don't get it, I don't like it, and they don't perform. It's going to drive them out naturally.
And they see themselves to the door, which is nice. Yeah, that's the beautiful of a performance metrics and a good culture. Guys are like, yo, this just isn't for me. Maybe this is just too weird. Maybe I'm just kind of a latent sit back. I want to punch in. I want to punch. That's okay. That's you, bro. Be you. And then like that whole Monday piece is like, yeah, it starts there, but it can't end there.
Right.
Like it's through all that we do. You know, we do Wednesday team lunches, and as we've built to, we're about to 40 staff, and there's 4 departments. We bring everyone together on Wednesday. We break bread. And so everyone comes in when they can, they pull off of a job or they come back to the shop. What is happening there is you're having this beautiful, like these departments start to like build relationships with one another, because heating guys are out doing HVAC and remodel guys are out doing remodels, and service guys are out at all hours of the day doing service calls, and new construction guys are doing new construction. So we got to get them back together. So we love that weekly lunch and we've rolled that a couple of years ago. That's probably been one of the best things we've done and continue to do. And then, we do you got your scrambles, and we have a legendary, I can't tell you too much about it, but we have an epic Christmas party. But if you want to join Team Legacy, apply online and you'll be there. And then we do, we like to support athletics. Youth athletics is a big deal to us. Just like I said, we're kind of building a business around athletics. And sport. What kids are learning in athletics isn't just about like trophies. It's about sacrifice, grit, perseverance, determination, teamwork, all of that. Like when you and I talk about who would be the perfect candidate to come work for us or join our teams, I think athletes just have that grit, that hunger, that fire, that they understand when we work together, mountains move. And so we really like to rally behind youth athletics. And so we'll support those, and we'll do activities with the Bison. Go Bison. I don't know if I can say that up here.
You're good. We're in a safe room.
Walls don't come crashing down.
We're doing podcasts. We didn't have any tequila before this. So
So yeah, man, hell yeah.
Yeah, no, and I like your fire. I think what I want to break down a little bit, and I think where a lot of your success and fire comes from is, which started on early on for you. You have this muscle that you've built partying and from high school all the way up to.
Partying's good for you.
Yeah, you at some point graduated. And then you decided, college wasn't for me,
not for me, not the 4-year institution.
Okay.
I think when people go get a 4-year degree and then they go in and become a doctor, there's some specialized knowledge that needs to be done there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you actually look at a bachelor degree, it's general knowledge. Like you're going to learn some things. It's really generalized. Does it help me? Does it not? But when you go to like a tech school, for example, you're going for a specialized trade.
Yeah.
So you're going very focused on whatever trade that is: welding, plumbing, heating, whatever, electrical. I love that. So I took a year off. Penn State, this was back in like 2012. Penn State, some of the bigs were starting to institute like a breather year.
Okay.
Like, yeah, you can come here, but you got to take a year off, because these kids were in like this massive state of burnout, right? Like it's just go, grind. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to crush shields, learn all that I can. And then at some point I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go get that sales degree. But I popped over to M State, where it was essentially 5 teachers, 5 professors, whatever you want to call them, that did business first. Like they went and kind of won that war. They won that battle, did well in business. And then they had a tug at the heart. Like, okay, now I want to mentor. Now I want to pass the torch to the next generation. So the folks that I had there, like incredible.
Yeah.
And I paid for it. So now you're bought in, which is a good thing. And those folks in particular, I gave them, because you paid for it, you're like, yo, I'm gonna be involved in this. Like, since I'm doing this, I'm gonna give it everything I got. I'm gonna be present. I'm gonna be active. I'm gonna absorb and sponge and see what happens. Unlike high school, when you're like, okay, you're gonna take this class. You kind of feel like you're told what to do. Like, go read George Orwell. Yeah, no, I'm good. And so I did that, and that was great. And I sat on the student government council there, and then I gave the graduation speech. Was probably the biggest speech I had done, to that date. And I remember I went after this girl who went on to Harvard and, did all these beautiful things, right? And she kind of sucked. She probably became a manager because she kind of sucked the air out of the room because it was like a me thing. And so I remember I got up on stage and I was like, all right, here we go. Let's make this happen. And I said, okay, before we get started, I need the nursing program to stand up and the nursing program stand up. And this is before I was married and I love my wife. I had the nursing program stand up and I said, we need to give a round of applause to all these beautiful ladies who just brought this to campus. And so we roared, and now there was energy back. Like, because we got group participation.
Yeah.
And so then I went on to deliver the speech, and that was so cool, man. I was nervous, and I probably should have brought a bottle of water. Your mouth gets, you start doing these things. You're like, this is, but that was cool. And then I graduated, and back to like the relationships, because I know we want to talk about that. Like, and I know you can trace relationships, and I think everyone should at some point just take a breath and like trace your relationships. I can go back. So I left Shields because the world started to tell me things as an early 20-some-year-old. Like, you can't make it in retail.
Okay.
Retail, no, you can't do that, man. You're going to miss this. You're going to miss that. You're going to miss the parties, man. You're working on the weekends. And so I started to kind of listen to that noise a little bit, and it kind of kept coming up. So I kept asking people, every customer that I interacted with, for the most part, I was like, well, where have you lived? Where have you been? What do you love?
Oh, sure.
And Colorado came up 70% of the time, right? Colorado. And this is before, all this has happened. Fast forward a decade, right, where it's mini California, whatever. Everyone's gone. They all went there. So they're all there. But I was like, all right, I got to go. And so I graduated. I left. I went over to car sales for a minute, did that, got a phone call. I was not going to make it in car sales. It wasn't for me, man. Good experience, whatever. I get a call from one of my old teachers. And she says, hey, JT, how are you? And you and I can turn it on with the best of them. Life's good. Yahoo. And she's like, well, how are you? And I'm like, I'm all right. And she's like, yeah, there's this company. They're looking for this like trainee to touch every facet of the corporations. Love to do this, where you touch all the types of the business, and then you either go ops or sales. And so I said, she said, they're just like Shields. They're all about the customer experience. I said, let's go. And so I went to the Google, and I was like, all right, tell me about this company. Rehearsed everything that I knew when they started, where their headquarters are, yada, yada, yada. Of course, onboarded there, took the job. What's funny is I quit car sales on my birthday. I was like, I'm out of here. Got to go. I got a new job. And I got a letter from the mothership, and it said, pretty much, hear ye, dear Jonathan T. Froning, we regret to inform you that you're not getting the job. After I've already been offered and accepted the job. Talk about left-hand, right-hand communication in corporate America. And I was like,
this is for Shields?
This is for Ferguson Enterprise. Yeah, when I went into wholesale.
Got it, wholesale.
So I sold the plumbing and heating contractors. That's how I know them all.
Got it.
So I get this letter, and I make a phone call. I'm like, this is nuts. You guys, you offered me the job. Now I don't have the job. And why I didn't get the job is I didn't have a 4-year degree. So this is back when if you didn't have it, you can't get in. Like, the gate was still closed. Now, mind you, that started that moment in time there, even not that I did it, it was just starting to rear its ugly head. Google's and Microsoft's like, yo, you're not even giving me the kids I want. I'll train them myself, kind of thing. And so I made some calls, and they let me in. So I was one of the first to get in with the 2-year degree. Woo. And, but I was like, cool, when do I start? Because, I'm unemployed. And they're like, and this is June. And they're like, well, we'll start you in August. So, I didn't do very well in car sales. So I'm dead broke. And by the way, I'm having a baby in August. And I'm jobless. So then I popped over to Ferguson. And that's where I started to build some beautiful relationships in the plumbing and heating space. And I came up into Grand Forks every Tuesday, did the thing. And, learned a lot there. And I learned a lot about identity. And I learned a lot about the difference between happiness and fulfillment. And I think you tell me a joke right now, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to laugh. I'm like, cool, that was a good joke. But that's temporary. Fulfillment is long lasting. And so I was happy, but I wasn't fulfilled, man. I was out trying to help winners win. And that's, mind you, I've never been a true heating technician.
Right.
But what I know is how to connect people, right? Relationships. I know how to follow up. follow up is everything. Write that down.
Yep.
And so if you don't know how to follow up, just get out because you're not going to get anywhere. And so did the thing and was just building relationships and that's where opportunities stem from, man.
How do you, in some of these relationships, so now that you made it to Ferguson, you're starting to build all these plumbing and heating and everything, every relationship. I think just relationships in general, sometimes you and I probably meet a lot of people, right? Yep. How do you stay in front of everyone, right? Mm-hmm. Like sometimes you lose that. Like now you have all these employees.
Yep.
And you have all these different customers and you have family and how do you, in your mind, do the best job in staying in front of everyone? Because you're kind of an expert in this space.
Man, yeah. And it's hard.
And you do good.
Yeah, it's hard. It's not easy.
Do you think about it? Is it conscious?
I think about it. Actually, I was going through a little season just a little bit ago where I was like, your Rolodex gets so big and you know so many people. And I think you and I, we genuinely care about people. So that means we want to check in and wish you a happy birthday and see how you're doing. I kind of have this like 2-minute rule. Like if you cross my mind twice, like I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to make that 2-minute call.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Marc, how are you, my dude? Like for some reason, you're kind of crossing my wavelengths. I just want to check in. I hope all is well. Hey, when's the next time you're down in Fargo? Let's grab lunch, whatever.
Okay.
So like, but my Rolodex was getting big and I felt like I was letting people down and all these things.
Yeah.
And I think we have to give ourselves a little bit of peace. Ed Milet just rolled that Power of One More, he's rolled his book and he kind of paints the picture of that bullseye, right? And like, so the outer edge of that bullseye is just acquaintances. I have a guy named Tom at the gas station we all have a gas station that's probably in our life cycle. And Tom, this guy, he's the dude there and he's a clerk, whatever. And he's a nice guy. We have great conversations. But that's what the relationship is. It's hi, it's bye, it's how are you?
Right. Transactional.
How about those Chiefs? Transactional to a degree. Yep. And then you come in, now you're kind of getting closer to that bullseye. So that maybe that relationship's a little bit deeper. Maybe it's a guy we're playing pickleball with, we kind of know his family and whatever. And then you get a little bit closer. And that's like your outer circle. And your family could be there. Sometimes people just think I have to put my family in the inner circle. I struggle with that a little bit, where I was like, because that the bullseye itself should really only be 3 to 5. Like your ride or dies.
3 to 5.
Your mastermind. You know what I mean? Like that should be, and I tried to cram everybody into the mastermind. Like I was like, everybody matters. Everyone, we're going to build just a dynamic, deep relationship with everyone. And Ed, how he described that gave me clarity and he gave me the permission to even move people out of that with love and say, hey, like I got one guy in particular, I love him, we go way back. But when we're together, we're talking about football and we're cheersing a couple of beers and that's okay. That's just what we're gonna do. But I'm not gonna tell him what the latest podcast or the book I just read or this that I'm trying to do or that. But we're just gonna be, and we're gonna be bros and we're gonna golf, we're gonna do our things. But I needed to move him out of that inner circle just to the outer circle or maybe even the outer, so that I can make room for someone who's kind of like goal aligned. That's kind of go in that direction. And so it was unfair of me to lie and think that I could do right by all. But I think it's just love people when they're in that a season, a reason, or a lifetime. Like, and to have grace with that, like sometimes it is just a season, sometimes there's a reason, and sometimes it will be the lifetime.
Wow. Is there, and so you get everyone in this circle, right? Like, and then you got, I imagine just keeps spreading. And then is there any, you have a built-in CRM, we'll call it, right?
Yeah,
like, when you haven't touched someone in a while, you're like, okay, I just got to call them coffee, whatever, get in front. Is that just something that clicks to you? Or?
It just clicks. Usually at midnight when I'm sleeping. It's amazing. I like how you said built-in CRM. That's kind of what it's become. It's just, and of course we have social medias and so on and so forth where, if they pop in like, hey, instead of just seeing that it's Marc's birthday, why don't we text him? Or I dare you to call him. Yeah. Like just take it. And it's kind of this, do a voice text. Like maybe you don't want to make the call and you don't want to leave like, hey, Marc, my man,
that,
like those are, text. Because then they're actually drawing emotion. You're giving them that vibe, that you're giving them that grace of your good energy. And so that hopefully they go take that into their next meeting and go make a huge deal or something.
The busiest people I know always leave voice text. Yeah. Whether it's voice DM, voice text, whatever it is. And I think it is always a little closer than just
a little bit closer.
A transactional text.
Yes.
Yeah. So when let's just say you're going to meet a customer, Legacy, you're representing Legacy. This guy uses XYZ plumbing and heating every time. What what strategy, and I think in some of your shields and some of your, different tactics come along, but how are you approaching that? Because you're not going to break through the ice in one dunk.
Nor do I want to.
Yeah.
I like to, in things too, say it was a connection made by someone, a mutual person that we know. I'll tell that person, hey, I don't want the business to be given to me. I want to earn it. It tastes better that way.
Yep.
And in that meeting, of course, I want to get to know them. What are you doing? What are you building? What's important to you? All those things. And a lot of times, I'll come for the number 2 spot. I think the number 2 spot's kind of a hero spot.
Yeah.
I get it. You have a great relationship. You're loyal, and I respect that.
Yeah.
Don't be loyal to a fault, but I respect your loyalties. So with that said, I think most would agree it's good to have a 1 or a 2 or a 3. And so I'm actually here today just to go for that 2 spot. I want to show you that I want to earn it.
Yep.
Give me one. Give me one opportunity.
Got it.
An M&M, one shot, and we'll deliver and we're going to lead with experience, and then we have to set the agenda. And the agenda with Legacy, my mission is to deliver the best plumbing and heating experience in town. Mind you, I did not say my mission is to deliver the cheapest plumbing and heating in town. And so we get that out early and often, goal alignment, values alignment, and then when some say partnership, I'll dial that down a little bit on them because that. Just like with culture, people throw culture around like it's this cool word, but yet they really don't even understand it or they're not doing the things they should do to do it. So when some folks say partnership, I'll say, well, what does a partnership look like to you? What does that actually mean? Because is it truly transactional? And if you're truly chasing cheap, you can go find that elsewhere. Partners win together. And really we have to think of it like, you and me, let's partner up, but the third partner in this deal is the consumer. And I'm a consumer advocate. I've been wanting to kind of go tell it on a mountain, and I do, to a degree, want to stand up. And the people are putting a lot of money into real estate. They're putting a lot of money into that first home, second home, whatever. Like that's a big chunk of your life savings, your money, right? Allocated. You should get what you pay for. I think minimum code requirements are a joke. I think we need to, as contractors, stand up. As builders, you need to allow us to build the home that these people deserve and stop cutting corners, or dare I say, cutting walls to put something out faster and stop hiding behind cute little words like affordable. Let's build a better home in all markets.
Yeah. So I like that. So you're preaching, hey, I'm not going to be your cheapest product. I'll be your best partner.
Experience. And we're going to be here for a long haul.
Gotcha.
Because that home, like anything, like your vehicle, needs to be maintained and fine-tuned.
Right.
And so, yeah, sure, a 1-year warranty is fine and dandy, but that's just a calculated math equation.
Right.
And so when we build it, we're going to do things like we pull a mandatory recirc line. Okay, so recirc's going to get you hot water faster, quicker, right? And people want that. And it's going to keep that water going through the lines. We're going to do mandatory 2 spigots, not 1, because you get 1, it's on the front of the house. Well, you're always having water balloons on the fights on the back of the house. So we're just going to do those things. We're not going to take that out because we know to pull that proverbial recirc line later. Marc calls me up. He's like, yo, man, I need a recirc line, but they didn't have one, or I want to add this to this. I want to add another, whatever. Well, I got to take a bunch of sheetrock down. It's from a $500, let's just do it, to a $10,000. Oh, wow. So we lead with the customer's insight. Like we know it. We have a list. It's called the I wish I wouldas. And the list is essentially a wish I would have known. Like the consumers are like, nobody told me. Like, what do you mean? What's an air exchanger? What's air quality? What's it does. Oh yeah. I forget because this year we're naive, but it gets cold in the north. So why didn't I do the upgraded furnace? Like, why didn't I do that? There'll be a day we may roll Honest Builders, right? And it's going to be the most boring process around. And I'm going to imagine you come in and be like, hey, my man, Marc, we're going to do this. It's going to be a little boring. Your wife's really going to think it's boring, but we're going to start in the mechanical room and we're going to stay down here for a while. I'm going to lay this out for you, man. I'm going to show you everything we're going to do. And actually this go around, you're not going to get the granite countertops and you're not going to get the $30,000 appliance package, but all of that cute stuff that you just kind of want to show your friends, you can get that later.
Yeah.
But what you can't get later is a quality built functional foundational home.
Yep.
And so that's what I would lead with. And so that's kind of that experience piece. Like we're gonna compile this data, we're gonna give it to them, we're gonna advocate for the consumer, we're gonna deliver then, and then we're gonna get them on these planned maintenance and say, hey, we're here to serve you, man. We're here to come back and make sure that this system is performing, because there'll be a day, especially if we're not maintaining it, that all heck breaks loose. And I think you just said you got back from some travel. Usually that happens when you're either on the travel or, you took the red line back, you got in late, and now you walk into your house and your basement's flooded. It's midnight, of course, call your boys at Legacy, but like, oh man, like problems happen. And the most constant thing about problems is they happen at the worst time possible.
Yeah. Well, we have a short-term rental in Scottsdale, Arizona. And anyway, the biggest question we always get asked is, the shower takes a long time to warm up. If you requote that, obviously all these tubes are underneath the cement now, and they're very almost impossible, really, to change. So, if you're not familiar with recirc lines and you're building a new home, make sure you get a hold of Legacy. Yeah. But I'm going to ask the question that I think probably the small contractors. Think about the 6 years old. Is that Legacy?
It will be 7 in May.
7 in May.
Second grade. Woo! Can almost spell.
But you guys have had significant growth. Obviously, you have a very well, written platform, business plan, metrics. You have a Monday plan. You have all of this. Obviously, you've learned and probably changed this over the last several years as you add all these team members.
Yeah.
So the small contractors thinking that, I have 4 or 5 plumbers. I'm to the tippy top. Like there's nothing but problems. I can't handle them all. I can't get all these service calls. I don't really know all, but even the small contractor, it could be a concrete company. It could be a HVAC company, drywall paint. Yeah, whatever. But they're like, how did you get from what, how many was there when you started out?
2.
2.
It was 2 started with Brad and Rob, man. 2 plumbers and the third stall of a garage. You know what I mean? Like say, hey, let's go do some plumbing.
Wow. And so there's lots of those guys out there. And maybe they get to 6 and then it's like, whoa. Yeah. Now we got like payroll and like there's all these new layers of bills. Yeah. And invoicing and like I haven't billed out for 2 months.
All accounts,
now we don't have any cash to pay bills. Whoops. What would you tell guys? You've had a pretty tight journey. I'll say 6 years, a pretty fast time to scale. Yep. How did you break through, let's say the smallest barrier?
Yep.
What'd you guys do
and
really well? And I think
there's tiers, and I think you and I have had this conversation too briefly, is like, there's tiers to it. Like I think it's, okay, so it's say you are 1 man or 2 man. So you got that 2-man tier, but I think you bolster that to, let's just say to 5 or 6.
Yep.
Let's call that tier 1.
Yep.
Let's go 6 to 15, tier 2. Yep. 15 to 25, tier 3, 25 to 50, let's call it. Tier 4, and then at 50 from benefits and insurance, you're out of small group, right? So at that point you're getting bigger.
Yep.
So I think it's just knowing. Take a minute. I wish guys, because I've known, again, remember, I know these dudes. I wish they would have just, instead of, these dudes will work for an outfit that's been around. Imagine a lot of probably have worked for Lunseth here in Grand Forks.
Correct.
And they just think Dave makes it look so easy, and they're like, I could do this, and then they just pop off without like just thinking about it for a second and kind of laying out the groundwork of, hey, okay, how am I going to get paid? When am I going to get paid? What does that look like? Who would be the first person I'd bring on to be my number 2 or whatever? I wish they would just take a breath, think about it, and then kind of come up with a plan, like somewhere, even invest in the software ahead of time so you can have, because most of these guys, they don't even know where they're putting their customers. Like they're just like on a wet paper napkin. And so I think know kind of where you want to go, but at the same time, you don't have to have it all figured out, but it's okay to be a 4-man band. That's okay. Like, whatever. It's okay to have, I think guys have gone to 12 and been like, nope, I'm more comfortable at 8. So you can kind of press your limits. We've had kind of a big vision this journey. So we kind of know where we're going to the degree that there's a lot of road bumps, but we face them up, right? Like we make really good decisions when our head's against the glass. Like just make me do it and figure it out. And so just have grace and figure out what you want to do. And it's all of it's okay. Yeah. I would just, my encouragement to all of them is like level up the trades. I want guys to stop playing the victim card. And shame on my parents. And if they listen to this, shame on you. And the counselors, they have to take some blame too. But like that whole like thing where like you're a defect if you go into the trades, or like you just didn't do well enough in school. And then these guys went into the trades, and then this whole time they've been playing like the victim because they just woo me. I wanted to be a pilot, but I'm a trades guy and I suck. Stop that. Like, you're a trades guy, own that. You're a trades gal, own that. It's all like, you talk about, you want to go into a rabbit hole, let's talk AI.
Yeah.
You want to talk about job security? I just had this talk this week, was like, we have job security. Own that. Okay, yes. And like I said in the beginning, if 60+% of people hate their job, that's not isolated to the trades. There's guys being bookkeepers and secretaries and bankers. And hell, bankers switch jobs, but I think more than, I know there's a ton of poaching going on, but like they're not true. If they're leaving, they're not truly happy, right? So I want guys to get out of the way, stop playing the victim, advocate for the trades. We did 4,000 students came into the Fargo Dome, and it was an all day advocate for your industry, whatever.
Sure.
And there was all sorts of industry there, but I'm going to isolate it to plumbing and heating. They took it out of me, man, and I can keep up with the best of them, but imagine a home and garden show. I think you guys do that up here.
Yeah.
But it's all 9th and 10th and 11th graders, dude. Like wrangling these kids up in these packs is difficult. So we had to wrangle them up like a bunch of wild bulls, and then we had to get them to pay attention for a minute, and then like, hey, okay, I'm gonna have you do something because we want to work with their hands, and then kind of take that 60 seconds to talk about the trades. Put on these fancy Jordans and these yellow pants to kind of make it look cool. But what really pissed me off that day, and I'm gonna call these guys out until they start showing up, is nobody showed up. So there was one plumbing and heating outfit there, and that was 𝗨𝗨ecie𝗹𝗹𝗆. These guys need to stop that, and because everyone's bitching about workforce, they need to stop that and show up. They need to stop that. I did a all day. I'm a Fargo South grad before the Davies, before the others were built. So go Bruins, last of the regime. I went there and did a 7th grader career fair all day long, trying to make 7th graders just think maybe 5-6 years from now, oh, I remember that crazy dude wearing those crazy pants and those Jordans, said Build Your Legacy t-shirt. Yeah, he seemed cool. He talked about the trades. Maybe I'll get a glimpse. Maybe we'll get them to just think, you know what? I'm not a loser if I go into the trades. I'm not a victim. I'm gonna own that. Like, come on, guys. Like, oh, that's something that You know what you need? You need like a yellow Lamborghini, and then show those kids that you rolled up in a yellow Lamborghini. You get into plumbing and heating, you can have one of these. Let's go. Because they got to know what's cool. But yet none of their parents are telling them, get in the plumbing and heating industry. Or, it's just not even talked about. Correct. It's like, let's go get, here's what I hate about college. I love college to death. I would never trade my 12 credit short degree. But I don't think that the intentions there are for you to go get a high-paying job. You're building yourself the most replaceable job there is. Yes. Now, I think most universities are going to adapt and change a little bit. They're going to come back to more like a 2-year internship style, like they have to, because they come out of college and it's like, okay, I'm the $45,000 a year bank teller. Like, what? That doesn't get you anywhere. Correct. And plus, AI might replace you with some kind of robot or a Tesla robot. You know what I mean? Like, those are the most replaceable jobs. You can't replace someone putting together plumbing and heating pipes. You can't, diagnose that. Is it that hard of work? It's not hard work if you know how to do it right. Yes. And I own a concrete company, of course, and those people, they don't, no one's telling. We don't have any college kids anymore. They're all, I don't know if it's entitlements or like their parents are not telling you like, don't do this, but they're going to get like, these jobs are going to just increase in pay because guess what? You're going to have to charge more because you're not going to get the manpower. Correct. And we're going to charge more and more and more and more. And the service industry, I believe that the white collar jobs are going to die and the blue collars are going to come back as hard as it can. Preach, brother, preach. Let's go. So I think that's just what's going to happen. It's going to happen. You're spot on. Yeah. And so let's maybe take this a little bit different. I got some wrap up questions, but I know you're a reader. Leaders are readers. Yeah, man. And you want to build leaders, and I preach self-education all the time. I think it's the biggest ROI. I even have a hard time sometimes spending money to train my own staff because it's like just like you're willing to spend $100,000 in college, but
You don't want to spend $20 on a book,
right?
Or $50 on a course,
yes,
to hopefully earn you more money here because you're going to make the company more money. I have a hard time with it. But anyway, I want to share, your leaders are readers.
Yep.
What's a favorite book of yours right now?
Right now, so I'm parking on a book because I'm like content input. So I'm chilling for a second, and that's on Think and Grow Rich. That was put out in 1937. Napoleon Hill, and it like rich. I like to lead with this. Rich isn't just always monetary. Rich in spirit, rich in life, rich in fulfillment, rich in relationship. And so I'm a park on this one. I did a mastermind on it, and then it's like, okay, let's go right back to the beginning. And let's start to, because sometimes I'm known to like onto the next. Let's go back to the well. Let's start to do the things. There's 13 principles. Let's do that. So my word of the year, and I wear it on me. My daughter makes me a bracelet every year with the word that I go with, and she'll make it for you too. Give me a call. Is thoughts, right? What you think about, you bring about. Thoughts are everything. What's your, and that comes from inputs. And so hanging around guys like you and listening to the right things, really helps you. And self-talk. I spent a lot of time up between these years, even coming up here, man, I was a little bit off my game. I was like, hey, you got to get on it because this is your moment.
Yeah.
And so what you think about is a big deal to me. And that book has proven, it has all the proof, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, the list goes on and on. You start to put that out into the universe, what you're thinking about, and then you make like definite purpose backed with, passion.
Yeah.
And like I told you, that's kind of what we're doing here at Legacy. Things happen. So I love that. There's so many great podcasts out there. Those are like, hey, just put it on, listen, your stuff you're putting out is fire.
Yeah.
I've always liked what @mylet's been doing.
Yes.
And then I invested in Masterclass this year. They stayed long enough in my Insta reel that I was like, all right, you got me.
You got me.
But that into itself, now you're taking podcasts and they're doing, it's all video form.
Yeah.
And like I started Coach K's today, and he's just a legend. And so it's like 20 episodes. Each episode is like, it's their masterclass. And so that's that 𝗨𝗲𝗍𝗆𝗍, the art of the negotiation. He does a phenomenal one. Masterclass is great.
Wow.
And then just talking to, and then just being around people, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You have to educate yourself constantly.
Yeah.
Like there's not like in a tier where you stop. Like
No.
there's guys like 𝗨𝗨𝗍𝗆 out there who's always just been a coach.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that's what he's done. And that's what he's done. I think it's 50 grand or $1 million to deposit to get like in his coaching program.
Yeah.
Like he's insane, but people pay it
Yeah.
every day. Why? Do you, and so that's kind of my next question. Do you hire, you have things like books and masterclass, which is a bunch of podcasts that kind of, high leadership guys. Do you spend money on mentorship and coaching, like direct coaching?
So we've done some, we did one on like personalities, which is kind of fun because when you do like take your leadership team and you roll a personality assessment on all of them, and there's a lot of them, they all have their own value. It was interesting. You start to see glaringly, obviously, things like we're all, as a collective leadership of 9, like we're all really good at just making decisions and moving on. Like, just I'll make the decision. I'm gonna go do the thing. What we were missing. So there's usually 4 quadrants in all these personality things, and we were literally missing a quadrant, which was like process, like writing handbooks, like kind of that like stuff, like people that those introverts like to just like do the task.
Yeah.
And we don't have somebody there. We have 2 people that are close that could maybe flex over. And then you got me like off the spectrum. Like there is no way, like this is like that guy's never getting anything to the finish line. Tactfully. And so those are great. We've done that. We'll attend a lot of things. The chamber, lean into your chambers.
Okay.
They're always bringing in talent, for their voices of vision. The executives club, you're part of that. Like that's peer-to-peer stuff. And then I've had some good mentors in my life, and I think it's always like, who's next, man? Like, I'm gonna ask you before I leave. You want to be my mentor? One mentor of mine, when I think about energy and being the light, we were talking about all things life, and he was like, man, the world's pretty dark right now. You know what I mean? Like there's just a lot of shit, man.
Yeah.
And he said, you have this uncanny ability to be the light, JT, and bring that energy.
Yeah.
And how that hit me that day, like, I was like, I got to own it, man. I got to there's some pressure to that because like, you and me were talking about this before we went live. It was like, there's days where you and I even need to like reset. And sometimes when we're deadbeat tired, like when we've kind of given it our all through the day, sometimes I bring that home to my family and I'm like, I'm not that best dad or that best husband. And that kills me because I'm just energy drained because I'm like, I got to get to bed because I got to get up at 4:30. Like, I got to do those things, right?
Yeah, the expectation gets up there too.
The expectation to maintain that energy. Like when JT walks in, especially to the yellow pants, it's like, this boy better bring the energy.
Yeah.
But I took that from that gentleman that day and I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. It's almost like he handed me an invisible torch. And I said, in all that I do, I'm going to bring the light or be the light and I'm going to bring the energy, man. If that's my gift to the world, if I can just give you a little bit of energy so that you can go do that next hard thing, then I think I'll be all right. And I'm just going to keep loving people and building relationships.
Yeah, man, you changing lives with that. That's awesome. What do you think you're, if you were 85 sitting in a chair in the hospital, hopefully not the hospital, looking at a beach.
Yeah, looking at the beach.
In the yellow pants.
What
do you think you'd say something about yourself, what you're doing right now?
Did I love my family? Did I lead with faith? And did I build relationships the right way?
Okay.
Like relationships, man, they matter. Through it all, you can look at your bank accounts and your stock tickers and all the things, man. But relationships, like, truly are impact. Like, and if you can help that next generation or help that person or just tell someone you love them or just listen to them. I know it's sometimes hard for me to shut up, but if I'm just an ear to hear, man, if you got something heavy on your heart and you just want to talk about it, that's, I think. And just imagine that ripple effect.
Yeah. I think for people, it's always being vulnerable to that situation. And
as dudes, we need to get a little more vulnerable too. We got to stop being so boastful, prideful. Like, hey, man, it's hard, and we got stuff we need to deal.
Right.
And I think being able to sit in a room around your guys in fellowship and be like, I'm struggling with this. I need you guys' input.
Once I actually started doing that, that's when we talked about tier 1, tier 2 of like in the business from 5 people to maybe 12, 15. Like, I struggled through that because I didn't ask for help. I was the egotistical concrete guy. That's what we did. I don't need anyone's help. I'll do it all myself. And I was kind of taught that, that was my dad's mentality, though. It was kind of engraved in me. And once you ask for help, it's amazing how much faster everything else went. It's like the next 6 years were like drastically different, so it's like, and then go be vulnerable. Be vulnerable and then go give it away or make known what you're up to. Like, share your story, go give of your time to somebody else. And then naturally, like, they want to give back, man. Right. Like it's just this, I got $1 million donut delivery. I do those goofy little legacy donuts. And I had lunch with a gal one day and she said, what do I got to do to be fan of the week? We like to go make it about somebody else. And I said, you just did. And so I'll see you next week. And it was December 21st, 2022. And I made that long journey over to Moorhead, Minnesota from West Fargo and got there and went in the wrong door. Good thing it wasn't a first impression. It was a second impression. And we did the quick little picture thing. And one of her partners, who I didn't really know, but I've seen, was like, what are you up to over at Legacy? And I went on to tell her about our mission and our vision and our team and how important they are to us. And that's when we were gearing up to roll Heating and Air. Oh, okay.
And she's like, man, I know a guy. Like, I might, he's been at this company for 12, 15 years. He's kind of been suppressed by his managers, right? Because he's killing it. He's doing a great job. And the manager's just like loving it, right? Because he's just sitting on his hands going to every 3 o'clock happy hour that he can. So there's no growth or advancement. And I kind of was like, hey, we'll make the connection. All we can do is make a connection. Yeah. And I don't remember that day if he called me or I called him and we talked and then we talked again and we talked again and we had lunch and then we extended an offer. And he took over as head of heating at Legacy. Wow. And his beautiful name is Blake and I love him. And now 1 year, so I was 22. So our first fiscal Heating and Air, we rolled just over $1 million top line sales.
Wow.
All from a little donut. All from one little donut that we decided to put our logo on, that we decided to go give it away and make it about community because, well, they have a story to tell and I want to tell that story. Yep. And then in that moment, she's like, well, how can I help you? And then voila.
Yeah. You had nothing expected in return, but got something out of it. I think I always, I do podcasts and these reels and all this stuff, this content, right? We spend a lot of money and it's like, well, why do you do that? What do you make from that?
Yeah.
I don't make anything. I make guys like you know me. I make hopefully future employees know me. Hopefully new customers know me. Hopefully that I help a business, because anyone that I'll help or change, they'll reach out and say, hey, that actually really helped, and then that keeps me going. I love providing value because I think the more you're going to get, it's a go-giver mindset, right?
Like spot on.
You go give it, you're going to get it. I promise you, you don't know when it's going to come. Hopefully when you least expect it. It's always going to come when you least expect it.
Yes.
And it's going to grow you. So no, man, kudos to you because that reminds me of that.
You too, man. You're doing it.
I got one last question for you. What does follow the herd mean to you?
Oh, yeah. So if everyone's going one way, go the opposite, man. We like to think, I like to say, we were looking at doing this thing, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And I was like, why don't you want to do that? I said, let's go where our competitors aren't. You know, if they're all going that way, if they're all attending that thing or doing this, whatever, let's go the opposite way because that's where we want to be. We want to be where they're not.
Yeah.
And so just go it alone, man. Go it alone. But at the same time, you don't have to completely go it alone. Like, don't just think you got to invent the wheel. It's already invented. But be weird, be uncommon. And that's what we do, man. We're so not normal. It's guys almost are like, you guys are cult-like. You're so crazy. And I said, yeah, well, cult and culture are really, you smash them together.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How do, if I'm a small plumbing and heating company, maybe I'm a guy looking for a place, how do we get a hold of you? And maybe it's a customer that needs the plumbing and heating. Where are you at? Where do I find you?
So we're super active on Facebook right now. We're popping off there. You can follow me on LinkedIn, JT Froning, LinkedIn. I don't even know my handle. Do they have handles on LinkedIn?
Just search.
Something like that. Just search me. And then check out our website, 𝗨HIPlumbingFM.com. That, we put a lot on there from not only content of, we actually do plumbing and heating, but we do a lot of fan stuff, community builder stuff, and come on, man, stop by, get a legacy tour. We're about to move to our new facility, but we love to bring you in and show you around and let you meet our team. So that's what we do.
Yeah, even if I was a small company, I was a customer, whatever, reach out. I mean, ask them what they're doing in business. I think what you're doing in business is I'm going to call it a boring business because that's what I love calling them. I love building storage is very boring. But what we try to do is we bring another flavor to it, right? Like we build the culture, we build the team, we build these blue collar guys up. And I think we can learn a lot from you in business and re-listen to this if you're not and share it with somebody. If you know a plumbing, heating company, someone that needs work done, share this with them. And I'm sure they'll appreciate this podcast and they'll appreciate you. So guys, thank you. Thank you, JT. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Let's go.